If you feel you have what it takes to be awarded as the best in the business, here is your chance to apply. Head on over to our website, download the form and apply. If you face any troubles when applying or feel the need to get in touch with us directly, email us, call us, tweet at me directly at Sunanda_J or join our Facebook group.
Hello and welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, 18 Hours Daily Initiative that celebrates the undying entrepreneurial spirit of micro, small and medium enterprises. This is the only daily MSME platform in the country, a show where you can voice your concerns and get answers to all your queries directly from our team of experts. We understand the issues that you, the MSME entrepreneur, face, and this show aims to bring you the most relevant and updated information on everything related to your businesses. Tonight on the show to answer your queries, I have with me PK Malhotra, is a former Deputy Managing Director at SBI. We also have Manish Bansal, CEO of SME Value Advisors. All right, then let's kickstart tonight's episode with a query that's coming to us on social media. Vinesh Kadam has written to us on Facebook saying their business has several challenges and would want our experts to really advise him as far as some of those challenges are concerned. He says that his business faces a credit crunch. It's similar, of course, to what the rest of the industry is facing, but he feels that abuse of the market is being undertaken by his competitors, and that is putting further pressure as far as his finances are concerned. This combined with the fact that the scenario really is changing for small businesses. He wants to know what he can do in a scenario like this. Gentlemen, first of all, thank you all for being here tonight. And as the banking and finance experts, sir, what would you advise? Will finance help him to a large extent because he's saying that the landscape is changing, competitors are getting more competitive and more fierce. Will finance help?
I think he has answered his question himself, and your elaboration has made it even more clear. You see, finance is not a panacea for everything. In a competitive stage, when his competitors are, it's quite obvious that his competitors are beating him in the competition. See, he has to look at what is it that the competitor is offering and he is not. You see, finance comes with a cost, and when it comes to competition, there is nothing like adding cost and still remaining competitive. Being competitive means not competitive only in quality but also in cost. So, I would say that additional finance at this stage, when the competitor is already nibbling on his toes, is not the right medicine for him. He should look at his product, look at his market, look at his customers, talk to his customers, find out what is it that he is missing and the competitor is providing, and then go one step further. I mean, what the customer really wants may be something more than what the competitor is offering, but because the competitor is slightly better than this guy, so maybe the competitor is winning. If there is something that the customers need more than this competitor's offering, he should strive to offer that within his competence, within his technological availabilities. He should provide the best service to the customer. Competition goes up only when you are slackening.
Okay.
Ask that hard-hitting question, which is more internal to yourself. How am I different from my competitors? So focus has to be more on understanding customers. So you have to become more customer-centric rather than becoming the competitor-centric. Because here the question gives me the feel you are more worried about what competitors are offering rather than asking a question what customer is looking for. So if we start changing that focus, change that lens and change that paradigm of asking questions, Sunanda, I think that will get to the different set of answers. And again, as Charlie Munger, partner of Buffett at the Berkshire all the time says, focus upon differentiation, and that is the only way to escape competition, right? When you escape competition, pricing will not matter to the customer because you are offering something which is very unique to the customer, and then credit will not come in between because you can probably do the business at your own terms. I understand there are only few businesses of that kind, Sunanda, but that's the business I as an owner would like to look at, and that's where the question comes from, more from the ownership perspective. So my request would be, look at the processes, products, services and customers' requirement internally and spend time thinking how you can differentiate from competitor. That's the only way to escape what the guy is looking for. I don't think any amount of money will solve the problem which is here.
Okay. All right. So that's a sort of unanimity as far as our experts' opinions are concerned for you, Vinesh. Don't try and throw money at the problem, because the real solution really is to ensure you have a differentiator versus your competition. Thanks for sending in that question our way. Let's take in our next query. And this is an email which is coming to us from Sanjay Agarwal. Sanjay has written in to us to say he's a founder with a startup which was started about 3 odd months ago. So it's very new. He wants our experts to suggest how he can go about raising 1 crore debt for his startup against a collateral of about 4 crores. He says because he doesn't have an ITR that he can show to the bank. So what would you recommend? Is it advisable for him to be raising such huge funds at such an early stage?
I'm assuming that it is advisable for him, because he has already worked for about 3 months, and there must be something which he's, I would again go back and say that look at your business model. If within 3 months you have this requirement, that means you have a good business model, you are on the right track. But 3 months, have you started getting your money back from the market? Ask yourself this question. If you require this 1 crore only to feed the market, I think it may not be the right idea to go for it. So I leave it to you. I assume that you really require 1 crore and you have a 4 crore collateral. There's a product called asset-backed loan, which most of the banks now have. They will very easily give this a loan of 1 crore against 4 crores collateral, provided your business model can answer some questions.
So Sunanda, just to add to what sir said, any financer, any guy, if you come to me and say, hey Manish, cut me a check of XYZ, I will only look at 2 things. One is the history, another is the future, right? So when I look at the history of you, when you are coming to me as a borrower, and you do not have any document to show to me, because ITR is going to be the very first thing I'm going to ask you for. If you do not have all those historical documents to demonstrate what kind of earning pattern you have had in the past and what kind of discipline you have reflected in your so-called spending, etc., I'll be very, very kind of worried about it. So because the guy doesn't have ITR, etc., and he has written very exclusively, so I'm coming from that side. So historically, it will be difficult for any financer to judge what the person is until he shows some maybe bank statement or some other stuff. Now, if I look at the future is all about business model. Please appreciate, no one will fund a person just because you and me have collateral, right? People would not like to invoke collateral. Idea is that you should have the cash flows from whatever business you are taking the loan for or money for. And that business should serve this particular so-called capital requirement, right? And no one is interested in invoking collateral unless you default on that particular loan. So any amount of collateral guy may be running with saying that I'm only looking for a crore against 4, 5, 10 crore asset. Unless there is a business which can be generating the cash flow to serve this money, I don't think there is a point. And that's where sir said you have to have a business model. You have to demonstrate that if you infuse the capital in the business will generate cash, and you would be able to pay back the guy from those cash flows. So you have to have a very clear part. Unfortunately, the history looks very weak here, but future he can basically based upon the business model if he has significant meat there to go and satisfy a financer.
All right, Sanjay, thanks for writing in to us with that query that essentially is the response of our experts for you. Wish you all the very best in your business venture. Let's take in our next query, and this is coming to us on Facebook from Rajesh Bhatia. Rajesh has written in to us to ask what the benefits and provisions are for small scale industries or small scale units that our experts can possibly guide him on. I know that Mudra as well as SIDBI look very closely in terms of financing and help for MSMEs as well as for the small scale units. So anything specifically for this segment?
I can only think of one which our customers will typically do. If you get registered as an SSI unit and have that certificate of MSME, what happens, Sunanda, is when you are bidding in for, let's say, government projects or otherwise, you don't need to pay the earnest money. So your cash flows to that extent do not get blocked. Another point is, once you are registered as an SSI unit, there are government provisions for the large corporates that they have got to pay to the SSI units within the stipulated time frame. That happens, doesn't happen, is a separate story. I am not going to go into that part, but there are some provisions within which the SSI units will get benefited just because they are registered as an SSI unit. You know, and then there are so many provisions. I think one has to go on the net and figure out what are the further benefits available, but these are the two prominent ones which come to my mind. One is on receivables and another is on earnest money.
On the banking side, Rajesh, as I have been mentioning in the program earlier also, banks have a target to finance MSMEs, and that leads to actually banks looking for MSMEs rather than the other way around. So, if you go to a bank, you will find, again coming back to the business model, if your business model is good, if it can stand the scrutiny of the banker, if it shows that yes, there will be cash flow at the end of the day, positive and surplus, then the cost of funding to you is relatively less. Collaterals are not insisted on. If you have a good historical record, then based on that record, if your rating is pretty good, you will find that the requirements of information that the banks ask from most of the borrowers is also less. In case of small scale industries, as Manish mentioned, once you have that certificate, to a certain extent of your turnover, your taxes are also much lesser than the big corporates. So, there are quite a few benefits and exemptions that you enjoy from the government authorities as well as from the banks if you have a small scale industrial certificate.
Okay, Rajesh, that's in response to your query. Gentlemen, let's take a very quick break at this point, but we'll continue answering all of your queries on the other side. Just stay tuned. Welcome back. You're with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow, and we're continuing to take in all of your queries that have been sent in to us. This next one is a call coming to us from the line of Biswajit De. Go ahead, Biswajit.
How can a small software company showcase their product? Is there any proper channel for showcase software export or something?
Okay, so any specific methods, programs, organizations which will help Biswajit as far as software exports are concerned, and NASSCOM of course is the biggest one, but if he has a query like this, he clearly hasn't sort of maybe heard of NASSCOM, I presume. So would either of you gentlemen want to break it down in terms of what he should keep in mind?
You see, software, unless it is something which is to the order or it is something which is been made with the brand in mind, would be very difficult to peddle. See, the issue is that the people who are going to use the software, they must understand what Mr. Vishwajit is trying to sell. If it is a proprietary kind of software which does a particular activity, for example, tele. Now, if it is that kind of software, well, there are people who are who know about this kind of software, who would probably like to evaluate it, and if that 30 days evaluation period coming from the net, Mr. Vishwajit can afford to give to the people, fine, it can go. But all other kind of proprietary softwares are first have to they first have to prove themselves on the market, which is a very difficult proposition. I would suggest that he should stay in the areas where it is the user who comes up with the requirement ask people, I mean, there are tenders, there are various kind of offerings in the market, and he should respond to those offerings and be in a position to satisfy the first set of customers with his product. That would be a much better way of going into the software market than producing something which is proprietary, which maybe some people need and some people don't need, but getting this product to the people who really need would require a very different kind of effort, which is difficult for a startup.
So Sunanda, actually there are two things only. One is the product, another is the project. And product business and software is very, very, very hard nut to crack. So what sir has been saying in a very simple manner is focus upon project. If there is a project you do, you deliver, and you think that project can be productized, let me put and use that term, that's the time to stand up and say, hey, this has much wider applicability, can I do that part? Otherwise, it's very, very difficult to, do this business at all on the product side.
Okay, Biswajit, that's in response to your query. Let's take it our next one coming to us on Facebook from Sohan Kakre, who says he's an incubator and wants to know what are the parameters that his incubator should keep in mind when fueling any startup. And Manish, that's right up your alley. So I want you to take a go at this one.
So Sunanda, I would, as an investor, as an incubator, as an entrepreneur, would always ask the question when someone comes to me with this kind of proposal, what is the problem you are trying to address? I mean, that will be my first question without any second thought. What is that you are trying to solve? So essentially means you have to have the understanding of the problem first, right? So what problem you're talking about, how you are trying to address that problem, who all has that problem, whether people really want that solution, and if people want the solution, would the people pay for that solution? Until someone can truly answer me these 4 or 5 very simple questions, the discussion doesn't go to the next level at all. So I would essentially think as an incubator, when they are taking companies in, these are the first set of questions they should be asking. And until they think that the problem is really a large one, there is no solution probably in a competitive manner available there, people are ready to pay for that solution, right? So essentially means gauging the opportunity set. That's the very first thing which we're trying to do. Is there an opportunity in this particular business? Second is step down. So once you have understood that there's an opportunity in this space, for example, let's say traffic. Traffic in Bombay is horribly bad. So if you say I'm trying to address a problem of traffic, I would listen to you. I will sit down and explain me what is the problem, traffic, how you are trying to address, you explain me that part, is the problem big, all that stuff happens. Next question to ask is, what capabilities do you think you have to address that particular problem, right? So if you can justify on that part, then look, I have ABC and I don't have DEF, right? Then I understand that you understand that part as an entrepreneur, that you have certain capabilities or certain resources, and there is another set of resources which you don't possess. But you are aware, you are conscious of the fact that you would need all this to basically address the problem. That gives me a sense that, look, the guy understands what he's talking, Sunanda, and that's where I would say, hey, now let's understand what you ask from me as an incubator. Can I address the pain points of yours, or can I complete that missed point or missing pieces in your puzzle? If I think we can, right, as an incubator, then I would be happy to take the guy in.
Aarti Sawant, she's written in to us to say that she's in the textile retail space and wants our experts to suggest if she should go ahead partnering with e-commerce companies, larger ones, for example, like Jabong, Flipkart, Amazon, etc. Essentially large e-commerce companies, and what its benefits and drawbacks are. Now, of course, the power of the internet is such that it's created a level playing field now for most MSMEs and entrepreneurs. But at the same time, I'm sure there are some drawbacks that entrepreneurs should also keep in mind. Again, Manish, could I start with you? What would you advise?
So let's ask this question: what is that these guys will do to this business of Aarti, right? What most of these Jabong, Flipkart, Amazon, all these guys are just connecting vehicles. You have to think that way. Aarti has to think that way. That I have a business and there's a customer lying somewhere in different part of the country or the world. There is probably limited means for her right now, because if you have the physical brick and mortar system, probably customer has to reach me out, right? So it's a limited space which I'm operating in. With help of these platforms, I can connect with probably much larger audience. So Aarti has to be very clear that what she is looking for is leveraging upon the presence of these platforms, which are nationwide and internationally available, to reach out to much wider set of customers, both within country and probably even outside country. So this is the way. So what essentially I keep telling people is, when you come on any of these platforms, you essentially create a national or a global level shop without really investing too much of money. Because generally when you set up the shop on Jabong or any of these platforms, they will rarely charge money. They will say, you come on this, when you sell the stuff, right, at that point in time you give me the commission, right? So it's a very interesting proposition from that perspective. So what is the downside? Downside is that probably the commissions she has to share, Aarti has to share, for selling the products on the platform with these platforms, and rightly she should. So she should think of her benefits. She should think of how she can reach out in one stroke across the country. Otherwise it will be very, very, very difficult, or maybe I would say impossible, to reach out to the length and the breadth of the country. So I would essentially tell her that, look, she has been having the physical structure. She has to essentially collaborate with all these platforms and start selling on these platforms as well. With this, she has both the physical, at the same time, the virtual space available, and can address the needs of the much larger audience.
And I would add to what Manisha said, that Aarti, most of these platforms cut the margins very sharp. So be aware of your costs and be aware of your margins, whether you can really provide them the kind of merchandise which they are asking for at the cost that they are asking for, along with the additional cost which e-commerce entails. So be very careful when you are getting into this.
All right, it looks like we've run completely out of time, but gentlemen, as always, such a pleasure to have both of you here on the panel with us tonight to answer all of your queries. Do remember, if you have any query pertaining to any aspect of your business, you can always write in to us at leadersoftomorrow@timesgroup.com. You can tweet at me personally. My Twitter handle is Sunanda_J. You can reach us on social media using the hashtag LOT, or call us on that number you see flashing on your screen. We promise to have all your queries answered. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.
If you feel you have what it takes to be awarded as the best in the business, here is your chance to apply. Head on over to our website, download the form and apply. If you face any troubles when applying or feel the need to get in touch with us directly, email us, call us, tweet at me directly at Sunanda_J, or join our Facebook group.